FNN in New York, it's the Fixed Income Report. Today's news of the credit markets. Brought to you by E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Now, here's Wendy Friedman.
Here's the news affecting the credit markets for Friday, October 31st. The drop in the Japanese discount rate was anticlimactic for the bond markets. For the past 2 days, traders have been expecting it, and prices leapt forward in anticipation. So today, when the news came, bonds didn't respond, and prices were mixed to slightly lower. Traders had a chance to focus on some other factors they might have ignored in their pre-rate cut euphoria: higher oil prices, some strong economic figures, and worries about next week's Treasury refunding haunted the markets on this Halloween day. As of 5 p.m. today, federal funds were quoted at 5 15/16. The government 30-year bond was trading with a yield of 7.61, down 1 basis point. 6-month CDs stood at 6.25, and the bond buyer futures index showed an average yield of 7.31, unchanged from yesterday. Ginnie Mae yield was 9.11, and the dollar was trading higher against most major currencies. We'll get a jump on next week's pricing news and tell you how to prepare for tax reform after this.
As a child, I didn't worry about money, didn't have any. Now I'm faced with responsibilities. E.F. Hutton is my broker. It's my money. With Hutton, I can count on 83 years of uninterrupted performance. 83 years. And I waited a long time to make sure, didn't I? E.F. Hutton, because it's my money.
I'm Mike Godwin from the Municipal Bond Department at E.F. Hutton. Even in these simplified tax times, I could go into a lengthy explanation about how much more money you could make by investing in tax-free municipal bonds, depending upon your tax bracket and current situation. But that's best done between you and your Hutton account executive. Let me simply say that tax-free municipal bonds are sound investments for active investors. We'd like to help you learn more.
For a copy of Municipal Bonds After Tax Reform, dial 1-800-EFH-2626. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
In pricing news, final prices for the $130 million in Broward County, Florida bonds we told you about yesterday. Yields were lowered for serials due in 1993 through 1998. 6.90 remains the maximum yield for bonds due in 2014. In a look ahead to next week's major municipal issues, prices are expected Monday for the Orlando Orange County, Florida bonds we've been telling you about. These are the $420 million in expressway bonds originally stalled due to a private citizen's lawsuit. And from New York, the Hempstead Resource Recovery is expected to price $300 million in bonds next week. Serials are expected to range from 1990 to 1999. And also due to be priced, a $90 million refunding issue from the Texas Housing Agency. We're wrapping up our week-long look at tax reform and the municipal bond investor. We've been hearing from Jerry Mangieri, a tax partner with Arthur Anderson. Since there are only 2 months left until most of tax reform's provisions take effect, reporter Ken Lubbock asked Mangieri how investors can prepare now for the upcoming tax changes.
The first thing they ought to be concerned with is that this is not simplification. This tax bill is extremely complicated. And when you layer it on top of everything else, the tax code now, the first thing that everyone should be aware of is that it's not simple. I would recommend 2 things. One, that people invest in assets and securities that they believe will throw off a good yield to them, and not be so concerned about what they hear about the tax rules. Secondly, what they ought to be concerned about also is that in 1987, a lot of the deductions they're used to taking, such as investment advisory deductions, buying the Wall Street Journal and some of the other barons, etc., may not be deductible in 1987. So if they're going to get advice, they better get it soon.
Join us next week for an analysis of the Treasury refunding and what the year-end will bring to the bond markets. Our guest will be Conference Board economist Steve Mallon. Meanwhile, on this Halloween day, we'd like to remind you that the Erie Canal was built thanks to municipal bonds. For now, that's the Fixed Income Report for Friday, October 31st. I'm Wendy Friedman. We'll see you Monday.
For further information about municipal bonds or other fixed income securities, contact your E.F. Hutton broker or dial 1-800-EFH-2626. The Fixed Income Report is a co-production of the Financial News Network and Hutton Television and is brought to you by E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.